Good morning. Welcome back to the Bout Some Football Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. There we have it. Game 269 out of 269 complete. Saturday I said 525 out of 525. I was talking that every team plays 16 games, the math. But obviously teams play each other, so you have to cut it in half. Yeah, on average, there's 14 to 16 games in an NFL regular season week, plus all the postseason games, so 269 is the total amount. Well, for number 269, that was not what I think anybody was expecting. Maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers locker room was. But other than that, no, nobody else thought that. So congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their second Super Bowl championship, the first coming versus the Raiders back in 2002. Congratulations to the now five-time Super Bowl MVP Tom Brady on the 31-9 victory over the Chiefs. He now holds the record for most Super Bowl MVPs. So what happened? Let's start with some stat lines from the champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For starters, the greatest of all time, the Super Bowl MVP, the man who now has more rings than every NFL franchise, Tom Brady. Tommy Boy will only throw 29 passes, 9 of those coming in the second half, so 20 passes in the first half. But he'd complete 21 for 29, right around 72% completion rate, for 201 passing yards, 3 pass touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He had 3 pass touchdowns and 181 passing yards in the first half, so really only threw for some 20-some yards in the second half. His QBR for the game would end up being 125.8, finishing as his best QBR in a Super Bowl ever, out of all 10 that he's played. He was actually got the first time they scored any points or any touchdowns in a first quarter of a Super Bowl came this game when he threw it to Gronk, who I'll be talking about later. This is actually his fifth rated highest QBR in any of his playoff games from his 45 that he's played. Yeah, you heard that. 45 playoff games for Tom Brady. That's a record, if you're wondering. Playoff Lenny, also known as Super Bowl Lenny now, as he said on Twitter. That'd be Leonard Fournette. He had himself a great game. He would end up rushing for 89 yards on 16 attempts for around 5.7 yards per carry. Have a 20-yard rushing touchdown coming right after halftime. After Kansas City went and their first drive abysmal, and then Tampa Bay would march down the field and score another touchdown. Now he would be a threat on the receiving end of the side too, or receiving side of the ball too, catching 4 passes for 46 yards. But this was expected as that Kansas City defense was ranked the worst passing defense against running backs, giving up the most yards per game at 56 yards per game to running backs out the backfield. Now, another key performance was Gronk, obviously. 67 reception yards, first 2 touchdowns for Tampa Bay. Brady and Gronk would end up breaking the record for most touchdowns between a quarterback and a receiving option with 14. They were tied at 12 coming into this game, broke it at 13, added another one at 14. So congratulations to them. That's dope. Another stat line I'm going to be looking at, Antonio Brown, 5 catches for 22 yards. So not the most impressive yards per catch stat, but he also had a dirty cutback route. Not really cutback, but it was more of a fake out and then hit right back in route, real short, shallow route versus Tyrann Mathieu for his touchdown. Oh my God. I don't think Tyrann had an idea where he was. Now, the funniest part to me is that all 4 touchdowns scored by Tampa Bay in this game were by players who were either signed in the offseason or were traded. That only Gronk was traded. But it's kind of like when the younger kids, they're losing in a basketball game at the playground. So they got to go get the older brothers out of the house, come help them. But they had to go get Tom Brady out of the house. They need a little bit of help after going 7-9 last year. I think it worked out pretty well. Listen, these offensive stats, they're cool and they're impressive, but we all know the real reason behind this thrashing of this explosive Chiefs offense, and that's going to be that defense and the Todd Bowles game plan. Can't believe I'm saying Todd Bowles game plan and working out well in the same sentence after what he did with the Jets. Again, let's first look at this Todd Bowles defensive scheme. Again, being fired from the Jets head coach job back in 2019 after 2018 season. Adam Gase would be hired as his replacement. We see how that worked out. Comes Tampa, goes 2 straight seasons of the best ranked rush defense in the league. Bowles would finish second this year in blitzes sent at 268, only trailing Don Martindale of the Baltimore Ravens at 290. So it's a 39% chance of setting a blitz. So I would expect Eric Bieniemy, I don't know why my voice went so high, and this Chiefs team to plan for the blitz. And, that's why their offensive game plan was going to plan around. Expect blitzes and expect them often. Now, how many times did he throw in a blitz last night? Chiefs had 66 total offensive plays. 59 total pass attempts. So if the numbers pan out right, he should have ran about 25 to 26 blitzes, right? No, he runs 5. He ran 5 blitzes all game. It completely threw off the Chiefs' whole game plan. I mean, um, to expect such a high number of blitzes and only see 5 all game, Bowles' entire game plan was simple but amazing because no other team has been able to pull it off against the Chiefs. It's run a cover 3 defense, take away the deep options and the sidelines, and play the ball in front of you. Play Travis Kelce, play Tyreek Hill in front of you. Keep the ball in front of your linebackers and your secondary. You can give up those short routes. You can give up the dink and dunks, these little 5-yard in routes to Tyreek Hill. Just make sure you contain him. Just don't give up the deep shots. And it worked like a charm. Next, I want to check out this defense-wise is going to be this pass rush. 38 pressures on Patrick Mahomes compared to the 5 that the Chiefs had on Tom Brady. That's Super Bowl record if you didn't know, 38 pressures. And it doesn't stop there. This was from 66 total plays on offense, where only 59 total pass attempts, which makes this stat even more impressive, where only 5 of the plays, 5 of the 38 pressures, came from rushing more than 4 players. That means 33 of their pressures came from either rushing 4 or less. They rushed 3 a few times, and still got pressure there. That is Jason Pierre-Paul, who is 8-0 in the playoffs. That's very impressive. He went with New York back in 2011 when they beat Tom Brady and the Patriots. And then you have Shaq Barrett, who led the team with 11 pressures, second all time in a single Super Bowl game, only behind Nick Bosa last year with 12. Ndamukong Suh came in the offseason, and Vita Vea. They all had a great day. Incredible performance by this defensive line, and some of the linebackers too, obviously. They would also tack on 3 sacks, which isn't incredible, but they ended up having Patrick Mahomes running 497 yards before he ended up throwing the ball. So 497 yards behind the line of scrimmage while scrambling, an attempt to make a play. Just an outstanding performance. I really didn't see a single play where Mahomes had a clean pocket to get off a pass with enough airtime to travel at least 15 yards. He would hit like Kelce, maybe like 9. Kelce would go around the field. Now on to the linebackers. And this is where I have my MVP of the game. And no, it's not Devin White. It's going to be Lavonte David. I think Devin White had a great game. He had 8 tackles and interception in the end zone that completely secured the game. The game was over by then, but still cool to add one. But I really thought it was Lavonte David's ability to cover Travis Kelce man-to-man that was the game changer. Stuck with him all night. David would end up with what I believe was 4 pass defenses, 4 pass breakups. That's more of a kind of like a choose your own stat because certain people like to classify pass breakups as making contact with the ball, and certain people like to say if you hit the guy and the guy drops the ball, you also call it a pass breakup. So I'm going with 4 total. This all comes while guarding Kelce. Now, Kelce would finish the game with 133 yards on 10 receptions, but 8 of those catches and 95 plus of those yards, around 95 to 100 of those yards, would come while down 22 points. The game was over. It wasn't all 22 points, but like when in garbage time, when the game was like completely over. But when it was a competitive game, David stuck to Kelce like glue, played a great defensive game. Man-to-man coverage, that's not what I expect out of Lavonte David. But I was extremely impressed. Now, on to the secondary. Oh my god. There were a few plays where receivers were open. Either Patrick Mahomes would miss them. Rare, but that did happen a good bit last night. He would overthrow them or something. Or they just dropped it. But other than a few plays, secondary played great. Sean Murphy-Bunting played well. Antonio Winfield Jr., who would end up sticking to Tyreek Hill the majority of the game, home to 7 receptions, 73 yards. Again, most of those coming late in the game, too. He would tack on an interception. And this is the guy that got beat for 204 yards, 3 touchdowns, and like 9 receptions by Tyreek Hill back in week 6. Antonio Winfield Jr. He hit him with the peace sign, if you saw that. Some people were like mad, but no, actually Tyreek Hill did do the exact same thing to him after scoring a touchdown. Backflips in the end zone, hits him with a peace sign too. Winfield probably was practicing in the mirror. He was making sure he knew that was coming, and if he got a chance, he was gonna throw it up Tyreek Hill, and he did. So I think it's just karma. I mean, poetic justice, you could say. And then Carlton Davis, second round pick back from 2 years ago, pick 68, I believe, and back in 2018, had a great game too. The second, really young cornerback, so let's specify that. Sean Murphy-Bunting, 2 years in the league. Antonio Winfield Jr., rookie. Carlton Davis, third year in the league. But the secondary was very impressive to me. I thought this was the weak point of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they played so well. I thought they were going to get picked apart. And Patrick Mahomes is going to have a field day. That's why I predicted 6 touchdowns. I'm never going to predict that again. But they would take away the deep shots, the sidelines, and just stuck to the receivers really well. When they were playing man and when they were playing zone, they did really well too. This defense really did it all, and it showed that if you want to beat the Chiefs, this is how you do it. But not only did they beat the Chiefs, they dismantled them. They took them apart. It was incredible. Okay, now let's take some time and check out this Chiefs team. Rough night, to say the least. All right, for starters, I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes. Now, don't get me wrong. Offensive line, abysmal. Wasn't even there. Some of the receivers dropped passes. McCole Hardman had a rough game. Kelsey had a few drops, which was rare for him. Tyreek Hill had 2. But some of this loss needs to fall on Patrick Mahomes' shoulders. I thought he played horrible. Now, first half stat line went a little like this. 9 for 19 passes, so less than 50%. For 67 passing yards, 30 rushing yards on 5 attempts. That's 5 offensive drives and a total of 97 total yards. 6 if you include the kneel going in halftime, but I'm not going to. I won't play the answer. 5 offensive drives, 6 points. Only got on the other side of the 50-yard line twice. And 97 total yards in a whole half. Really bad performance. And the second half just didn't get any better. Now, he would end up throwing 2 interceptions in the second half. And although he did finish with 270 passing yards, so it really looked real good on the stat line of the 0 touchdowns, nearly 140 of those came during garbage time when the game was completely out of reach, 22 points. Or when Tampa Bay was up 22 points. So I wouldn't really count those towards like true statistics. Obviously they're on the stat sheet and all, but like it's the game's out of reach. I could go out and no, I can't. I'm not gonna say that. But like it's like when Lamar Jackson versus Tennessee Titans, not this year, but last year, back in 2019, had like 345 passing yards, but like 200 of those, or like 150 of those came in fourth quarter. They were down 6-28. Like obviously, people are gonna point that out that hey, the stats really don't matter because they didn't help with the game. So back to Patrick Mahomes, nearly 140 of those came during garbage time, and when the game was out of reach, he would end up throwing 26 for 49 passes, only a little bit above 50%, so nowhere near what his average is. I think it's around 67. And in the second half, he just wasn't able to get his team moving the ball. He got his team in field goal range 3 times total. I wouldn't even say field goal range, maybe twice field goal range wise, 3 times crossing the 50-yard line. One would end in a field goal, another one would end in a turnover on downs, and another one ended in an interception in the end zone. That was Devin White's interception. I want to point this out. If Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers, maybe Aaron Rodgers, put up a stat line like this, just a poor performance, just did not look good out there, they'd be murdered by the media. The media would point out that like they're choke artists, they can't get the game, they just don't have the skill. It's time to move on from them. Yes, I've seen that a lot for Lamar. A little tangent. If I see anybody saying trade Lamar for Deshaun Watson, that's ridiculous. Listen, Deshaun's a great quarterback and all, but there's an offense built around Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. I just don't see anybody trading for Deshaun Watson on that. But they get murdered by the media. But, Mahomes, he throws cool no-look passes. Most of them end up incomplete, but he still throws them, so they're kind of cool. So, he gets the pass. He's fine. And the media won't say anything about him. I haven't seen much about it, but I think it needs to be pointed out that he did have a poor game. And that's going to take me into my next point. This is Patrick Mahomes' second Super Bowl, and it's his second less than desirable performance. He won Super Bowl MVP last year, but let's be honest, I didn't think he deserved it. I don't think anybody else really thought he deserved it. Should have went to Darrell Williams, had 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mahomes would throw the ball 42 times last year, completing 26 for 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He led a good comeback, so I guess that might be why the trophy went to him. But now during playoff games, Mahomes often plays great. He performs really well, and when he's on the biggest stage, though, it just hasn't looked good. And obviously, he can get them there. He can get them to the Super Bowl through his skills. But is his performance in the big game the reason that they either A, are trailing, or B, lose? Because that's what happened with the 49ers, and that's what happened with the Buccaneers. Obviously, still top 3 quarterback in the league. Pick and choose who you want there. but it's something that you could worry about a little bit. Now, let's check out the offensive line, or I guess you could say the shambles that represent this offensive line. Missing Mitchell Schwartz. Mitchell Schwartz. What am I forward? Mitchell Schwartz hurt. All right, he went out week 6, hasn't been in the season at all. But giving up 38 pressures on 59 dropbacks is not acceptable for 5 professional athletes in the Super Bowl. I think they're running 4 backups total, except for their one guard. Well, they started. I know their tackles were both backups, so I didn't expect them to do great. But geez, the bar was already low, and they lowered it. But I also think some of this needs to fall on Eric Bieniemy and his play calling. It wasn't even really his playing. He doesn't even call plays. Again, this is one of the reasons why I don't think he should be a head coach. He doesn't call plays, and he recalls offensive plays, but he schemes the plays. He designs them. And he only called 5 plays last night where Mahomes had more than 5 blockers the entire play. Now there were plays where the running back would sit in the backfield, wait to see if like JPP or Shaq Barrett would end up breaking off the end and coming in the backfield, and he would help. So there he had 6 blockers. But every single play, either JPP or Shaq Barrett would cut in as they noticed the running back was blocking. Therefore, the running back would dip out, and it would be down to 5 blockers versus 4 rushers. Or Travis Kelce might make like a chip block, and he'd be up on pass field. But they never kept more than 5 other than 4 times. I think I said 5. I'm at 4. 58 of their 62 where they have more than 5 blockers. Now, I just think, have like bring in Darrell Williams, have him sit back there the entire play. Don't only have 5 blockers. Have whoever the backup tight end is, I can't remember. Um, Come in with Travis Kelce, run a 2 tight end set, and just have him sit on the line and just block. Like, give him a chance, especially after halftime. Something like Eric Bieniemy needs to notice this and be like, "Hey, we have to make an adjustment and change how we're playing." And they just messed up. That was a big mistake. Also on Andy Reid too. This Chiefs defense going into the game was a weak spot, and it showed. They got dotted by 43. He might be 44 now, honestly. Tom Brady. That's ridiculous. I think by the end of next season, he'll be 45. So it makes sense if he's 44. Now, Chiefs fans, I want to say something. You cannot, and please do not put this loss on the referees or any NFL fan. Don't try to say, it was refs first, Chiefs. Listen, the one call in the end zone, the pass interference, it was questionable. The ball was out of reach. Mike Evans was not going to catch that. But he still called it because they were still holding, and Tyrann Matthew shouldn't have been wrapped around him like that. But every other call was justified on the field. Like I didn't see any that were like, oh, this is ridiculous. There's no way you can call that. Your offensive line had to hold because if not, Mahomes would have died. He would probably have been pressured 50-something times. And your corners just couldn't keep up with the Buccaneers wide receivers. The refs didn't cause you to go down 22 points. They weren't the reason behind Mahomes throwing 2 interceptions, and they didn't have a vendetta against your offensive line. It was just poor play. Just a few more stats to really exemplify just how good this Bucs defense and really the win in general was. This was the first time since 2016 that while at Texas Tech when he lost 66-10, that was a big loss to Iowa State. That Mahomes lost a game by more than 1 possession. His biggest loss since before this in the NFL was 8-point loss to the Raiders. This was Mahomes' first NFL game that he would end up throwing 0 touchdowns and 2 or more interceptions. Great job by the defense. Last thing, let's check out a few of my keys that I said on Saturday to winning the game for each team. The first was I said the Bucs can't go down big early. Coming back against Kansas City is usually pretty difficult, and they ended up doing the exact opposite. They built a 28-6 lead early in the third quarter and just never let it go. The only thing that I said like the winning team needed to do was control the clock. They needed to win the time of possession battle if they wanted to win this game. And that's exactly what the Buccaneers did. They would end up winning 31 minutes to 29 minutes. The majority of the Kansas City time came during the fourth quarter when they had like the ball for the 5 drives in the fourth quarter. But it also results because the Buccaneers were attempting to run out the clock and had 2 drives end after 3 plays. So the true time of possession should have been much greater to the Buccaneers side. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. All my predictions. Throw them out the window. I said Patrick Mahomes 6 touchdowns, trash. 41-38 fouls, trash. 30 points by trash. I said Scotty Miller touchdown trash. I did say Gronk was gonna have a good game. I thought he was gonna score 2 touchdowns, and he did. So I'll take that. I mean, it wasn't like crazy or nothing. Um, but yeah, channel wise, now on the off season, like honestly, my favorite time when the Ravens aren't in the football, aren't playing anymore, is off season. So I'm gonna drop my first mock draft this week, and this will be a no trades mock draft, which is difficult because I know some teams just trade out of the first round no matter what, or at least trade down because the Dolphins don't need the third overall pick. They're gonna trade down, but I'm not gonna do trades. Free agency's coming around March. I love free agency. I'll be discussing that. Scouting reports. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do my 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers, 5 offensive tackles, 5 offensive guards, and 5 centers. Hopefully, do all that by February or March, and then hit defense right before the draft in April. We'll hit trades. I think I want to go over the new coaches, the 7 new head coaches that were hired the last week or over the past few weeks, and just discuss that and really everything about the offseason. So I'll keep you guys updated on what happens. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.